Hello friends, hope you all are doing well. Today in this session we'll go through integration in ServiceNow. We'll go through the brief introduction first and then we'll go through REST API Explorer. We'll see tables API and then we'll see outbound REST message and then we'll go through some use cases with REST message V2 API, once with outbound REST message and once without outbound REST message. Okay, now we'll start with the introduction. Now we'll see what is integration. The integration is the connection between the two applications. Okay, so for example, I have added here two applications. One will call as source and another one will be target. Okay, now the connection between source and target is called as integration. Okay, now the connection can be initiated from the source. Okay, this is called as request. Okay, and the target will respond back and we call this as response. Okay, if the target is public then we don't need the authorization, but if target is restricted one, then we need to send the authorization. Okay, so here we need to send authorization with the request. Okay, once the authorization is successful then it will process the request and send the response back. Okay. Okay, now the source can be ServiceNow. Okay, and the target can be any other application. For example, Jira might be the application, or we can have integration with Salesforce. Okay, but for our demonstration purpose, we'll have one more ServiceNow instance itself here. Okay, we'll have both source and target as ServiceNow instance only. Okay, now we have two instances. This is our first instance, that will be our source, and this is the second instance, that will be our target. Okay, so for our demonstration purpose we'll be using two instances here. Okay, one as source and one as target. Okay, now a real life scenario where the integration happens between two ServiceNow instances is, for example, in a big company the business is segregated by regions. For example, the business for US region is different, for the business for EU region is different, that is Europe region is different, and the business for rest of the world is different. Okay, in that case there will be a separate US dev instance, US test instance, US pre-prod, and US production instance. Okay, now the same instances for EU regions are different. Okay, and the same instances for rest of the world are different. Okay, now in that case the integration between the those instances might be required. Okay, now let's start with the REST API Explorer. Okay, for that we need to go to modules, and we can search for REST API Explorer, and then we have the module here that will open this one. Okay, and if we are using the REST API Explorer for the first one, then we get the button Explore. Once we click on Explore, the REST API Explorer gets open. Okay, now here we can select the API and then we can test it here. Okay, now for example we have the table API here, and we have different methods here. Okay, now if you want to retrieve the data, then we'll use this. If you want to create the data in a table, as this is table API, so and to create data we'll use this, and retrieve a single record, then we'll use this. Modify the record, delete the record, we'll use this. Okay, now let's retrieve the data from the incident table. Okay, now the URL looks like this. Okay, and once we run this, then we'll get the exact URL as well. Okay, let me just select the table name. Okay, now this inside curly braces table name is there. Now this will be replaced with this parameter. Okay, this is path parameter. Now here we can add the queries, but let's run this without query first. Okay, this is the limit how many records we need to fetch in the response. For example, here it is 1, and for testing purpose we can only have 1 to 10. Okay, but in the actual script we can just vary this. Now let me just send this. So now response status code is 200. That means it is successful, and we can see the response here. Okay, now this is the result of the incident, first incident. Okay, this is the incident number. Okay, now let me just go and add the query here. Okay, the query can be active is equal to true. Okay, we need to add the encoded query here. Okay, now I'll just run this. Okay, now the incident is different. Earlier incident was different because that was not true, might be, but now the incident is different. Now it is fetching the data with that query. Okay, and we can see the URL generated here. Okay, So we can see the path parameter table name is replaced with incident. The table name, we can add any table name here, and then syspam query is added, and so this encoded query is added here. Okay. No, equal to is replaced with percentage 3d here, that is URL encoding is done here. Okay. And then the syspam limit we have selected is 1, but we can vary this in our script. Okay, we'll see that in some time. Okay. Now, if we see in the response, now we can see the opened by field here. Now, this is the reference field which is referring to a user table. Okay. Now we have the link for that record, and we have the sysid of the user here. Okay. Now I don't want this link and the value. Basically, I don't want this object with the link and value. I just want the value here directly. Then we can just add that here as well. Okay. There is a query parameter here. Syspam exclude reference link. Okay. If I make this true, then let me just send this. Okay, then we'll not get that object with the link and value. We'll just get the sysid here. Okay, so you can see open by is a sysid. Okay, now I don't want the sysid, I want the name of the user here. Then I can just go here and add syspam display value to true. Okay, now let me just send it again. So let me just see opened by. Okay, so we can see opened by system administrator. Okay, earlier we got the sysid because that is the reference field. In backend, the reference field stores the sysid, but as we have marked syspam display value to true, we are getting the display value here, that is the system administrator. Okay. Okay, now in the response, we can see this is only one record, and we have a big object here with all the fields of the incident table. I don't want all the fields. I just want the number and the short description and open by only three fields I want. Then I can add that to a query parameter here. Okay, that is called as spam fields. Okay, so I'll add number, comma separated field should be here. Then short description, and then I want open by, right? So open, let's go back. Okay, now let me just go and send again. So now we can see we have only three fields here. We don't have the other fields. Okay, now let me just go and change the limit to 10, and then I can send it. Okay, so now we have 10 records here. Okay, with only with the objects with only three fields. Okay, now here we can see the request format is application or JSON. That is the content type. Okay, that is the application JSON, and in response it is sent as application or JSON. Okay, now we can see the response that is in JSON format. Okay, and we can see here authorization that is sent as me. Okay, it means the logged in user's credential is used to send the request. Okay, and here we can see the X user token. This is the user token that is constructed using the username and the password. Okay, and this is ServiceNow generated. Now in client side, if you want this, then we can get it like let me just open the console. Then we can simply write window dot g underscore ck. Okay, now we have this token here. Okay, now you can see it is exactly same as this. Okay, if you are calling this API from any client side code, then we can use window.gck to populate the X user token request header. Okay, now we can create the record in the table as well. Okay, for that, let me just open the incidents table. Okay, I'll just add created on today filter. Okay, there is no record here which is created today, so let me just go and create a new one. So we just need to select this from the methods here, and then again we need to select the table name. Okay, and now this time, as this is post request, we need to create the body here. Okay, so I'll just add field, and I'll say short description is ServiceNow universe incident. Okay, and I can add description as testing. Okay, now so this object is created here. Okay, so whenever we call this API, then we need to add this to we need to create the request body like this, and we need to add that to the request body of the API call. Okay, now I'll just send this. Okay, and then we can see 201 created. This is successful response, and this will give us the object back in the response. Okay, now if I go to the incidents table, then I can just see the data here. Okay, I can just see the record created here. Okay, now if I go back again in this response, I don't want this all, then again we can filter using these queries. Okay, so we have the queries here. I want only the number in the response. Okay, then I can just get the number. Okay, let me create it again. Okay, now we can see we have only the number of the incident, we don't have any other information. Now, same way we can, for example, modify the record using the put call here. Okay, now when we are modifying the record, we can modify only one record, so we need to provide the sysid of that record. Okay, so now I'll say incident. Okay, and the sysid will be I'll say this. Okay, then again we need to give the body here. Okay, now we'll just change the short description to something else. Okay, now we see the short description is ServiceNow universe incident, and then we have changed it, so I'll just send it. Okay, now let me just refresh. Now you can see the short description is changed now. Okay, and again here we can use the query parameters to restrict the data in the response. Okay, okay, now the same way we can delete the record as well. For example, again we need a table name here and the sysid. Okay, so let me just select the table name and we'll copy the sysid of this. Okay, and then I'll just add it here. Okay, and we don't need any body here, so I'll just send, and that is deleted. Okay, and we don't get any content because that is deleted, right? So the incident is deleted from here. Okay, and now if we go back, then we can see here ServiceNow itself has provided different scripts here. Okay, now if I click on ServiceNow script, then we have REST message v2. Okay, in the introduction I had told we'll use REST message v2 API to query to make the API calls. Okay, so we'll use this in some time. Okay, then we have in curl. Okay, we have in JavaScript. So in different languages we can see the code here. Okay, now we'll see outbound REST message, and then we'll come back to the script, and we can go through the use cases and use the REST message v2 API in the use cases. Okay, now here we can see in the system web services we have soap message and REST message. Okay, we'll make a separate video on soap message, but for now we'll go through REST message. Okay, let me just click on that. Now I can create a new REST message for our use case. Okay, for example, if it is a Jira integration, then I'll create here a called as Jira integration. Okay, but now we are connecting with what the other instance, right? So I'll just copy the name of that instance and I'll say this integration. Okay, integration with this instance. Okay. Now endpoint, currently we have to create the HTTP methods like post, delete, and all below. That's why we'll not add endpoint here, but as it is mandatory field, we'll just add https:// okay, and then just save this. Okay, now it has created a default here. Okay, default one. So let me just open this and then we can update it. Okay, now we want to get the data from where, from this instance. Okay, and this is the current instance, and we need to get the data from this instance, right? So I want the table API for this. Okay, so let me just go back here again to the REST API Explorer. Okay, and we'll just get the data first. Okay, now we can do that from script as well. Now we are doing that with outbound REST message. Okay, let me just, okay, I'll just copy this URL. Okay, I'll just go back here, and in the endpoint I'll just paste that. Okay, now we'll just change the instance name. Okay. Now here the syspam limit is 1. So let's keep this. Later we'll change this. Okay. Now we have authentication here. Now this is inherit from parent. So we have created this REST message. So if we have added any authentication there, then we can use that here as well. But we have not added anything. Here we'll add basic. Okay. Now OAuth 2.0 will create a separate video on this. But for now we'll create basic. Okay. So once we select basic, then it asks to create select the basic auth profile. So we have not created any. So let me just go and create a new one. Okay. So we are creating that for this dev instance. So I'll say basic auth. Okay. Uh, so I'll add the basic auth here. Okay. And I'll just submit. Okay. Now we have the endpoint, that is the other instance URL, and we have selected the basic auth for that instance. So basically, we have given the credential for this instance. Okay. Now I'll just save this. Okay. Now here we have option to test it. Okay. Now we can again get the script from here as well. Preview the script usage. If I click on that, then we can see the script here as well, like how we have seen in the REST API Explorer. And I can just click on test to test it. Okay. So I'll just click on test. Okay. Now we can see this is 200, and we have sent this parameter, and we have the result here. Okay. Now let me just go back and add the one more uh, parameter here, that is this spam fields. Okay. I want only number, and let me save this. Okay. I'll just click on test. Okay. So we have the response here. Okay. Now to use this in the script, I will simply go here, click on preview script usage, or you. Okay. Now let's go to the scripts background. Okay. I'll just add it here. Okay. Now here we can see this is the REST message which we have created, that is selected. So if we have created the REST message, then we need to add that to the first parameter. Okay. And the name of the HTTP method in the second parameter. So this should be get incidents, right? Incidents. Okay. And then I'll just save this. Okay. Here this should be get incidents. Okay. Okay. So when I do this, then it gets all the configuration from here. Okay. The endpoint. So we don't need to set any endpoint here. Okay. It gets the endpoint from here. Okay. And it gets the HTTP method also from here. So we don't need to set the HTTP method here. Okay. Okay. Now we don't have the mid server. So we'll remove this, and we'll remove this as well. This is also related to mid server. Okay. Now we need to set the authentication profile here that we have created. So if we don't, if we have not created profile, then we can set it through set authorization as well. Okay. Set basic auth. Okay. There's a function called set basic auth where we can write the username here and then password. Okay. So this will also work. Okay. If there is no profile created, then we can use the basic auth function as well. Okay. Now we have the profile with us. So this is of type basic. So I'll just go and replace this with basic, and we have the profile name here. This is the profile name. Okay. And we have the HTTP status here. So let me just print that. Print HTTP status. Okay. Now let's run this. Okay, we are not getting any value here. Let me just comment this, as we are already adding this in the REST message. So this authentication type is added here, right? Authentication type and the auth profile name. So let me just comment that. Okay, now we see 200 here. Okay, now in the response body we have the body as well. So let me just add gs.print, and then I'll just add the response body. So we can see the response body here. Okay, now this is the stringified response body. So what we have to write here is if I'll say if http status is equal to 200, then it is success. Then we'll parse it variable. I'll say parsed rest body. Okay, then we'll say json dot parse, and then we'll add response body. So we need to parse it before we use it. Okay, now this is the object, so I can just print here gs dot print. Okay, then parsed response body dot result. Okay, and then this is array. I'll say of 0 and then number. So we can use for loop here if needed, but this way I have got the number here. Okay, so this is how we need to use. But if we don't have the rest message created, okay, so in the introduction I have said we'll use rest message v2 with the outbound rest message created and without the outbound rest message as well. Okay, so that time I need to set the endpoint here. Okay, now when we just do this, we have not passed any parameter to the REST message v2 API. Then we need to tell what is the endpoint we are requesting to, right? So that time I need to pass this endpoint here in the script as well. Okay, in the script itself. Okay, then I need to set the method. Okay, set http method. Now which method it is? It is get method. So we need to pass that. Okay, now if I try to send this, then we'll get the error. Okay, user is not authenticated. Okay, so that's why we need to add this set authentication profile. Okay, now I'll just send this. Okay, I don't know, for some reason this is not working, so let me use the other function, that is r dot set basic auth. Okay, and will not directly hard code the username and password here. That is not best practice. So we'll store that in a system property. This is the username. I have stored the password in the other property, so we'll call these properties here. Okay, so I'll do gs dot get property and then username. Okay, and I'll pass the password here gs dot get property, and I'll do password. Okay, now this property type can be for password. There is a property type called password two-way, so we can add password two-way type. So here, if we go, then we can see password two. Then we can add that. Okay. Now let me just run this. Okay. Now we have got the result. Okay. There is some issue with this authentication profile. So, but now we have got the result. Okay, without the rest message here. Okay. Okay, now let's go back to the REST message again. Here we have hard coded the table name, but I want to pass this table name dynamically sometimes. So that's why we'll create a placeholder here, that is with curly brace and table name. Okay, now now in the script we can use a function called set string parameter to fill this placeholder. But if you want to test it here, then we need to generate variables. Okay, that will generate the variable substitution. Okay, I think it is a dollar, and then within curly braces we need to add the placeholder. Okay, now if we click on auto generate variables, okay, now we can see there is a variable substitution get generated. Okay, now this is only to test when we are using this outbound rest message. Okay, this is nothing to do with the script. Okay, in script if there is no variable substitution present here, then also we can use this placeholder in the script. Okay, I'll show that as well, but for now here we will pass the test value, okay, as incident. Okay, incident, and then we'll click on test. Okay, so we have the incident number here. Okay, now let me just go back, and now I can dynamically change the table name to problem, and then I'll click on test again. So now we have got the problem here. Okay, problem record. So now let me just go back, and again we'll do, so we'll just go here, and I'll just remove these two lines again. I'll add the rest message name and the HTTP method name. Okay, and I'll remove this because this is not needed now. Okay, now so we need to set that, right? So if I go back here, if I click on preview script usage, then we can see one function here called set string parameter no escape. Okay, so we can use this line in the script. Okay, so I'll just do this. Now it is problem. So we have the problem record here. Okay, now if I pass this as a requested item, then I'll get the RITM here. Okay, now this can be for example, if we go back to the outbound REST message, now we cannot use that in only endpoint. We can use that in anywhere here, like in the HTTP headers, or in the HTTP query parameters, or in the request body for the post calls also. Okay. Okay, now I'll just delete this variable substitution to show without this also our script works. Okay, so I have just removed the variable substitution, but still the placeholder is here. Okay, this placeholder is necessary. So now I'll just go back and run the script again. So we have got the result then also. Okay, now let's go through our first use case. That is when a new incident is created in the source instance, we need to create a incident in the target instance. For that, we need to create a new business rule on the incident table. So let me go and create a business rule here. Okay, so we'll say create incident in target instance. Okay, set advanced, and we need to run async. Okay, if we do after, then as this is a API call, we need to wait till the response is received back, right? So browser gets hanged, and after is not allowed from ServiceNow. So we need to use async here. Okay, and we'll say async insert when it is inserted, right? Now we need to write the script here. Okay, so we'll go and copy this. Okay, so we don't need this, right? Because we don't have any profile, sorry, we don't have any outbound REST method to create the incident in the target instance, right? So we'll just remove that, and we need to add that line, set basic auth gs.get property and username gs.get property and password. Okay, so we'll remove this as well. Okay, now we need to add the endpoint here, right? So I'll just add set endpoint. Okay, now endpoint is same as this. Okay, so I'll just copy the endpoint from here. Okay, now copy the incident. Okay, now we can have the table name dynamically here, but I'll just give incident. Okay, and we need to set the method as well. So set HTTP method. Now this time the method is post because we are creating the new incident. Okay, now we need to add the body, right? So for that we need to add it. So let me just create a request body. Okay, let me just create it here on top. Okay, okay, so what we have to pass here is short description. Okay, now the short description should be dynamically populated, that is from the current short description. Okay, and we'll pass the description as well. Description, that is current dot description. Okay, now this is our request body, right? Now we need to pass that as well here in set request body. Okay, and then we need to stringify that first. This is not stringify, and then we'll add rec body inside it. Okay, and then we need to pass the uh, request header as well. So we'll pass set request header, and we'll pass the content type, that is application or JSON. Okay, so now we are all set. So let me just save this, and let's go to the other instance. Okay, let's open the incident table. I'll add the filter created on today. Okay, so there is no incident here. Okay, so now we have created the business rule here. Now I'll create a new incident on the source instance. Okay, short description, I'll say testing integration. This is test description something. Okay, now I'll just save this. So as soon as I save this, the business rule gets triggered, and that triggers the API, and we should get the incident created here. Okay, so we can see the incident is created. Okay, but the short description is not added. Let me just check the description. Okay, description is added properly, but short description is not, because might be the spelling is wrong here. It looks correct. Okay, toString is a function, so we have not added toString here. That's okay. So let me save this. We'll create one more. Okay, test short desk and test description. I'll save this, and I should expect a new incident here. Okay, the new incident is created, and now the short description and description both are populated. Okay, now let's go to our second use case. That is when the incident is updated in the source instance. We need to update the linked incident in the target instance. Okay, now when we have created this instance in the source instance, that has created a new instance. Okay, now we must have the link between these two, right? So we can create a table for that. Okay, so we'll create a new table called integration mapping, for example. Okay, I'll add the column. This can be generic, so I'll add task. Okay, any task can be fit here. For example, the problem or the requested item. So I'll refer this to the task table. Okay, and now here I'll say target sysid. So to update the record, we need the sysid of the target, right? So I'll say target sysid for. Okay. But we can modify this table as per our requirement. Okay. Now I'll just save this. Okay, now let's click on show list. Okay, now this table is empty. So in our create incident table, when we get the response back, okay, so here instead of number we'll get the sysid. So id, now we have not passed any syspam fields here, so it is getting all the fields. So out of all the fields we'll get the sysid field. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll create so I'll say target sysid Okay, now we'll create a new record in that table. Okay, variable gr integration mapping is equal to new glide record. The table name is u underscore integration mapping. Okay, and then we'll initialize. Okay, initialize. Okay, then dot. The first field is the task which we need to populate. U underscore task it is. So I'll say u underscore task. Then it's a reference field, right? So it expects sysid. So we'll pass the current dot sysid there. Okay, and then second one is gr dot u underscore target sysid. That is equal to target sysid which we have received from the integration response. Now we'll just insert this. Okay, now let me just save this again. Okay, now let's create one more incident now. Test 2, I'll say test desk 2. Okay, I'll save this. Now we'll go here and see if that incident is created or not. Yes, that incident is created. Short description is populated correctly. Now this table must also be populated. Okay, there is something wrong here. Okay, here this is 201. Okay, it gives 201 here. So that's why what we'll do is we'll just add http status is greater than 199 and an http status is less than 300. Okay, if it starts if anything with 200 will be success for us. Okay, so now let me just save this again. Let's create one more. Test 3, test task 3, and I'll save this. I'll set this as well. It is created. Let me go back here and refresh. So now we can see this is created here. Okay, but somehow the sysid is not populated. The target sysid is not added here. It's because this result here is not an array. This is an object. Because this is array when we call the get API, but in the post API this is array as we get only one incident back in the response. So now we have just changed this. Let me just save this again and let's try to create a new incident now. Okay, I'll create new one. I'll set test 5 desk 5. Okay, we should get it here. Yeah, we have that here, and let me go to the mappings table, and now we have the mapping here. Okay, so let me add created Z2A, and this is the latest one, and we have the sysid for that. Okay, now when we do any changes to this incident, we'll come to this table and get the sysid and then make the API call. Okay, for that we'll create a business rule on incident that will trigger the API when the incident is updated. Okay, So I'll just create a business room. Okay, we'll name that as modify incident in target. Okay, I'll just add advanced, and when after, sorry, async update, and then we'll go to the code and we'll copy the same code. Okay, we'll paste it here, but this will change now, the endpoint. So we have incident, and then after the incident we want one more path parameter, that is the sysid. Okay, so to calculate the sysid we must go to the integrations table. Okay, and we don't want the integration table here now, so I'll just remove it from here. Okay, and I will just copy this and I'll remove this. Okay, everything, we don't want that. Okay, now I'll add gr map dot add query, and we'll add u underscore task. Okay, if u underscore task is current sysid to string, then we want to get the associated sysid for the target sysid. Okay, then if dot next. Okay, so if we have that, then only we'll do the API call, otherwise we'll not do. Then I'll say else gs dot error, uh, the associated target sys id is not present. Okay, now if it is present, then we want to add it here, right? So I'll say gr map dot u underscore target underscore sys underscore, and now the method is put. Okay, and we'll send both short description and description for now, but we can update the script to send only what has updated. Okay, okay, now let me just refresh this incident again. Okay, now this time we are modifying the incident. If we modify that, then on the target instance this should be modified. Okay, so I'll update the short description. Okay, I changed the short description. Let me go to the target instance. Okay, so we can see the short description on the target instance is also updated. Okay, that's all in this video. Stay tuned for more on integrations and subscribe the channel for more videos on ServiceNow. Thank you.